All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into an epic explainer of Mario Puzo's legendary crime saga, The Godfather. You know, this is a story that has just completely permeated our culture. Literally, everyone knows at least something about it. So we're going to break down the sweeping, dramatic, and honestly deeply cinematic themes of the Corleone family, using the original source material. We are going to trace the rise, the absolute power, and the ultimate tragic transformation of this iconic family.
But to really understand the Corleones, we have to start with this stark epigraph from the novel. It instantly sets the dramatic tone for everything that follows. Puzo places this quote by Balzac: "Behind every great fortune, there is a crime," on the very first page, right before Book 1 even begins. And honestly, it's the core thesis of the entire story. Think about the immense wealth, that sprawling Long Beach estate, the profound political influence of the Corleone family. None of that was born from the traditional American dream. No way. It was forged in blood, extortion, and systemic violence. So keep that in the back of your mind as we watch this family fortune be defended.
Okay, Act 1, The Godfather's Justice.
Puzo's novel drops us right into the middle of a joyous, massive family wedding in 1945. The war is over, the sun is shining, and Don Vito Corleone is giving his daughter away. It seems perfect, right? But it actually introduces us to a hidden world that operates by its own totally unique set of rules. You see, the Don is the man everyone comes to for help, and as long as they offer him their friendship and respect, he becomes their ultimate protector.
Now think about the stark contrast happening here. Outside, you have guests drinking homemade wine in this beautiful sun-drenched garden. But inside, in a dark, secluded back room, men are asking for lethal favors. Take Amerigo Bonacera, for example. He's an undertaker who truly trusted the American legal system. But when two young men brutally assaulted his daughter, the judge just let them walk free with a suspended sentence. Bonacera is absolutely out of his mind with grief, and he realizes the courts have essentially made a fool of him. So what does he do? He goes on his knees to Don Corleone to ask for the bloody vengeance that the law denied him. It's a perfect encapsulation of the dual life the Corleones lead.
So the big question is, who is going to inherit this massive criminal enterprise? The future rests on three very different sons. First, you have Sonny. He's built like a bull. Fearless, incredibly generous, but cursed with this hot temper that constantly clouds his judgment. Then there's Fredo, sweet, dutiful Fredo, who completely lacks the animal force you absolutely need to command men in this world. And finally, sitting alienated in the farthest, most secluded corner of the wedding garden with his non-Italian girlfriend, is Michael, the youngest.
Let's move on to Act 2, The Making of a Don. You know, great men aren't just born great, they grow great. Vito's transformation from a hunted orphan in Sicily to a formidable Don is literally a masterclass in survival. I mean, at 12 years old, he flees to America just to escape mafia gunmen. By the 1920s, he escalates from a humble grocery clerk in Hell's Kitchen to running massive bootlegging fleets. And the irony? He hides it all behind the quiet, legitimate facade of an olive oil business. By the time the Great Depression hits, he's consolidated his power and become the neighborhood's ultimate political powerhouse and Robin Hood-style protector.
Which brings us to Act 3, The Reluctant Heir.
So, out of all the sons, Michael is the only one who actively, stubbornly refuses his father's dark world. He's got these delicate features, but underneath, he possesses the exact same quiet force and sharp intelligence as his father. Don Vito actually says about Michael's worst service, he performs those miracles for strangers. And that highlights a massive cultural disconnect between them. When World War II broke out, the Don spent a fortune trying to keep Michael out of the military. He absolutely refused to let his son die for a foreign power. But Michael enlisted anyway and became a war hero. To the Don, bleeding for a society that only exploits you is just absurd. It really forces us to ask, where does our true loyalty lie? Is it with our country or is it with our blood?
Well, the tipping point arrives when a rival faction attempts an assassination because Don Corleone refuses to get into the narcotics business. They put 5 bullets in his back. 5! And when the Don is left hovering near death in the hospital, Michael suddenly realizes that his father's enemies are coming to finish the job. In that split second, all of his alienation from the family just vanishes. Blood wins out.
All right, Act 4, The Law of Omerta.
After stepping up to protect his father, Michael is forced to flee to Sicily, and it's there that he finally truly understands his family's roots through Omerta, the law of silence. For centuries, the Sicilian people were crushed by absolute, corrupt authorities. Society itself was the enemy. Going to the police for help was seen as the ultimate sin, the ultimate betrayal of your community. You went to the mafia instead. Suddenly, it clicks for Michael. He understands why his father chose to be an outlaw rather than trust a system that was literally designed to degrade him.
Now, while Michael is hiding away, things back home spiral out of control, and his brother Sonny is brutally killed in the escalating gang war. But Don Corleone, who's now recovered, does something completely unexpected. He summons all the heads of the major families. In an absolute masterstroke of diplomacy, he swallows his own grief. He gives his solemn word to forgive the murder of his own son, just to restore the peace. And why does he do this? Because, as he says, they must manage their own world, Cosa Nostra, and stop bleeding each other. But the real underlying reason? It's solely so Michael can come home safely.
And that leads us to our final chapter, Act 5, A New Godfather Rises.
Eventually, Vito passes away from a heart attack. Instantly, the rival families prepare to crush the Corleones once and for all, and all eyes turn to Michael. But here's the twist. Michael transforms the empire into something far more brutal than his father ever intended. Where Vito relied on reason, diplomacy, and compromise, Michael's strategy is completely different. It's cold, calculated, and completely ruthless. He tells his nervous captains to wait. He lets his enemies believe he's weak and vulnerable, and then he unleashes hell.
In a single, incredible 24-hour period, Michael executes a highly synchronized hit on all of his enemies. It is an absolute masterclass in tactical warfare. He wipes out the rival bosses, he eliminates the infiltrators from his own ranks, and, most chillingly of all, he orders the execution of Carlo Rizzi, his very own brother-in-law, for setting up Sonny's murder years earlier. The victory is swift and it is total. The Corleones are restored to absolute supremacy.
But man, the horrific personal fallout is absolute. Connie bursts into Michael's home, right in front of his wife, Kay, screaming in a fit of hysterical, wailing grief, calling him a lousy bastard for killing her husband and waiting until their father died to do it. It is a brutal, deeply chaotic moment. And Michael? He just stands there, completely impassive. His face is like a stone mask. The family business has been saved, sure, but the actual human family, it's completely shattered. So, we want to leave you with this final, haunting question. It's the tragic irony of this reluctant heir's descent into absolute power. Think about it. The boy who sat in the corner of the wedding garden, actively alienating himself from his father's crimes, has now become a Don far more ruthless and terrifying than his father ever was. Don Vito used violence as a tool to protect his people. Michael uses it with a cold, terrifying calculation that actually destroys the very family he set out to save. So what should you take away from all this? That in the Corleone universe, destiny is inescapable and ultimate power always demands a blood sacrifice. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it leaves you wanting to explore the dark, incredible cinematic depths of this saga for yourself. Catch you next time.